Hello everyone and welcome to this very special webinar. We're coming live to you direct from Scotland, Finland and India. My name is Louise and I am the Director of Education, Community and Partnerships for ThingLink, and I'm in Scotland, and I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Alexi, who's coming all the way from Finland. Hi Alexi.
Hello and thanks, Luis, and hello from Finland to everyone. I'm Alexi, the Director of Sales and Partnerships, and I work closely with our partners in India. And I'm so happy to see that we have almost 2,000 participants, and we have lots of people live, and hopefully everyone will see the recording afterwards. So enjoy. This 1 hour is packed with pedagogical tips and tricks and inspiration for you all. Back to you, Louise.
Thanks, Alexi. So we have about an hour and we've put together a fantastic lineup for you. We're going to hear from educators in Finland. We're going to hear from our colleagues at Mahattattva, and they're going to be sharing their expertise with you direct from Delhi. But I'm also delighted to be joined by CEO and founder of ThingLink, Mrs. Ulla Ekström. Welcome, Ulla.
Thank you so much. And thank you. It's an honor to be in this webinar. We really look forward to the discussions that come from this, and also the workshop that follows this webinar.
Fantastic. So it'd be lovely to do some introductions. We put together some slides. So on the ThingLink team, we have myself and Ulla. We also have Alexi, who you've just heard from, direct from Finland. And based in India, we also have Paramal, who is your main contact in India. And later on in the webinar, we are going to be joined to hear examples from Henry and Sampo. And Ulla, are you going to share with us some of your thoughts and some of your examples from your experience in 10 years of being at the forefront of visual learning with ThingLink?
So, what I wanted to just say in this beginning, I wanted to say, why have we chosen to talk about contextual learning at this time in the world? And many of you know that contextual learning as a concept is a method of instruction where students learn in real life situations. And why learning in real life situation and environments is important, it's because this way students can get an embodied experience of the environment, of the context. And this is important because that ignites being able to observe and perceive the environment. That ignites a lot of the higher psychological functions, such as classification and memory and problem solving. So that's why the context is so important. And now in this public health situation, when it is become the arrangement of the real world context has become impossible in many of the cases, we really run the risk that this leads to serious learning disruptions. And this webinar is built around the idea that if we cannot give students a safe access to real world environments, we need to try to bring some of these environments to them via the cloud using rich visual media that simulates the real environment as well as possible. And so in this webinar, we are gonna see and hear about examples that make the real world more accessible to students, even in these situations where this access is limited. So I'm handing back over to you, Louise, and everybody else. And again, warm welcome to this webinar.
Thank you, Ulla. Some wise words there, and certainly ThingLink has had an impact this year, especially with the conditions and the public health crisis that we're going from. And we've seen some amazing examples, and I'm going to be sharing some of those with everybody shortly. So thanks ever so much, Ulla. It's lovely to hear from you. So you've heard a little bit from ThingLink and the ThingLink team. And I'm delighted to present to you that later on in our webinar, we're going to be hearing from Ms. Deepti Soni and Ms. Usha Patanya, and they are the founder and director of the Mahattattva team, and we're just over the moon that we're going to hear from them directly and all of their thoughts and impressions of some of the key ways in which you can engage learners. On our panel, we're going to be asking questions like, what are the best strategies for engaging your learners with remote learning? But we're also going to be hearing about some of the best strategies for assessment as well. But some of you might be thinking, well, what is ThingLink? Have you heard anything about it? Do you know much about it? So I'm just going to talk very, very quickly about what ThingLink is. So ThingLink is an education technology tool that's been around for 10 years now. So it's a very mature education technology tool. It's not something that's just sprung up this year. It's something that has a very long, rich, sustainable background. And Ulla has created this wonderful tool, which is based on her vision, as you heard, which is enabling learners to engage with their environments, whether those environments are physical or virtual. And it's bringing that level of accessibility for images and multimedia to students, whatever their requirements might be. And ThingLink is used by 30 million people globally each month. And whilst it's used heavily in education, it's used across many other industries, which is really important for you because if you know that it's being used in healthcare, for example, it's something that students can learn from because they might want to think about how they might use ThingLink in those contexts for healthcare. We've seen examples where teacher students are using it and medical students are using it to learn what it's like to be with patients or what it's like to be in an operating theatre. And some of those situations and contexts are just not available to them. So it's got many, many uses. And we'll share these slides with you at the end of the webinar, and you'll be able to click on that link and there'll be a short video which tells you all about what ThingLink is. So how easy is it to use? We hear from educators globally that it's just so simple that actually you don't need to have a lot of training to use it, which is absolute joy for head teachers and district managers because they don't have to run lots of training courses for their teachers to use it. It's designed to be as intuitive as possible. So with ThingLink, when you get going, and it's for some of you, you'll find out more about this in the workshop we're running, is that you basically upload your media. And when you upload your media, that media will be present in your account page. And what kind of media can you upload? You'll be able to upload images. And when we think about images, we often think of photos, things that we can take with our phone, but actually images can be a screenshot. They could be an image that's created in another app like Canva. I'm going to show you an example there. It could be a photograph. So image is essentially just a file, a JPEG file, which can be any of these. But with ThingLink, you can also upload your videos. And one of our responses to COVID was the ability to upload a video to ThingLink, which can be up to 10 gigabyte in size, which means that you don't have to use YouTube. And we heard from parents and carers that said that teachers were using YouTube a lot and other video sharing sites. And sometimes this could be confusing for pupils because you know what it's like on YouTube. You click on something and then another video pops up, and before you know it, you've seen a load of videos you didn't really want to watch in the first place. So with ThingLink, you can actually upload your videos and then you can make them accessible because you can add in all of your tags and play those. So another really great example for you here. So this teacher has presented a wonderful video introduction to his students who are going to his school. And this teacher here, she's actually recording herself doing some teacher training, and she's recorded herself so she magically points to the hotspots that have been added to the video looks like some kind of trickery, but it's very engaging for her audience. And then, of course, you can use your 360-degree images and video, and 360 images can be used with VR headsets. So these might be things that you could take with a 360 camera, or if you're like me, you might like to take it with your phone using something like the Google Street View app, which is just free to everyone to use. You could also take 360 video, and here's a wonderful example that you're going to hear a little bit more about directly later on, of how a health and safety video has been created using a 360 camera for 360 video. And again, this is something that students can do in advance. So what can you add with your tags? I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can add a complete combination of text, images, GIFs or videos. You can even record your audio directly into your tag. You can add plain text labels, which are really handy. You can embed a whole range of third-party apps and tools, and they'll be interactive in those tags. And then you can link them all together, and you can link them together in any combination. So an image ThingLink could link to a video ThingLink, or it could link to a 360 ThingLink. Whatever you choose to use, the editing experience is exactly the same. So again, that's a really good point. There's not lots of different things you need to learn how to use it. It works on any device. So you might be on a PC, you might be on a Mac, you might have a tablet, or you might have an iPad type device. So ThingLink will work across all of your devices, and it's optimized for touchscreen too. So now I've told you a little bit about ThingLink, I'd love to show you some of my favorite examples, and I've called these lessons from lockdown. And they sometimes say that necessity is the mother of invention. And Laurie, an educator from Texas, certainly found that she wanted a solution quickly. She had to think on her feet. And what she developed here is something called a choice board. So I'm just going to share my screen with you so that you can see this choice board. Here we go. So let me just change that. I'm just going to remove that, and I'm just going to share my screen with you again. Stop my screen, and I'm going to pick another one here. Here we go. There we go. So this is Laurie's really exciting choice board. So what she did is she created this board with all of the assignments and the things that were going on this week. And here she's added in little messages to the teachers. She's added in little videos. So she's exploring the social presence. The teachers were connecting with their students. And she's also put the work that they're going to do that week, so it's nicely organized. But what she also did, can you see here, there's blue pens and there's red pens, is that she built differentiation into her ThingLink so students could choose in the to-go buffet whether they were choosing work that was harder or easier. So this essentially is their curriculum in a week. And this was so powerful because suddenly teachers felt that they were helping students to access their work, and parents felt that it wasn't so confusing because it was all in one place. So that's my first example. My next example that I wanted to show you is particularly one of my favorites. And this example is taking that concept a little bit further. And this teacher has built something called a Bitmoji classroom. So instead of a choice board that you could create with Canva or PowerPoint or something like that, this teacher used Bitmoji to create her own classroom. And Mrs. Pickard works with the little ones, and she wanted to make sure that her learners who are 5 and 6 years old were accessing their work. So what she's done here is she's built her Bitmoji classroom, and then she's actually added in little hotspots.
Hi, everyone, brilliant. Travis here. My mum says you are all brilliant.
And she's got an animation of her talking dog that is actually describing what the work is, but actually that animation could be Mrs. Pickard talking, it could be any kind of animation, but the point is that parents loved this. They felt that it really, really engaged their learners. So my next example takes this one stage further. And what we found was that teachers started to combine these examples together, and social presence was key. So these teachers from Wales decided to create a virtual tour of the classroom to help students remain connected to the places and the spaces that they know and love, because they were missing seeing their classrooms. So in the tour, you can tour through the school. This was all done using their phone with the Street View app. And the students could actually go into their classrooms, and the teachers had left hidden messages for them with their work. So again, personal greetings from the teachers combined with these 360 tours were just engaging learners. One more example, and then I'm delighted to hand over to Henry, who's going to be sharing his work from the city of Savonlinna. And that is a really lovely example where students have been thinking about visualizing their skill sets. And what we've done is we started to think about what a CV would look like if you could put your skills into a CV rather than a job description. So we worked with students to come up with samples of visual CVs where students could add in their experiences or add in their favorite pictures or add in video clips of them speaking, and that would really, really highlight their skill sets. And students actually said that when they did this, it helped them to articulate their skills and they could actually visualize their skill sets. So we did this as a bit of a trial, and we found that you could either do this with a personal reflection CV or even have a go at one that you could share with an employer. And I can't think of a better way to attract a spotlight to yourself if you're applying for a job than with a visual CV. So that's my examples over. I'm delighted to share my screen now with Henry, who's going to talk us through some of the work looking at formative assessment and working methods in the remote context. So welcome, Henry. How did you find that? Just a few examples to get everyone going, the warm up for you.
Yeah, thank you, Louis. Thank you. Great examples. Definitely great examples. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm really honored to be here with you all, discussing these important topics and the challenges we face during these difficult times. And I'm going to share you my screen now.
Okay, I'm just going to remove myself. So I'll hand over to you.
So today I'm going to give you a short presentation on how to improve the quality of remote learning by using formative assessment. So it's going to be short and a burst of information, so hang on tight. Well, let's start with the challenges we face here in remote learning. So we all face this, I think. We cannot support our students that well in these times, and the quality of instruction is maybe not that good. Following the learning of the students and supporting them is more difficult. Of course, we have challenges, technical difficulties and lack of devices, but also difficulties in assessing and evaluating the students. So let's see how formative assessment could help with these. So what is formative assessment? It's often misunderstood as being only a verbal or written feedback at the end of the course. Of course, the feedback is an important part of it, but there's much more. So formative assessment is an integral part of pedagogy, and it's not a separate tool And it's not about evaluating the students, definitely not about evaluating, but it's about revealing the learning processes and guiding students to learn better. So it is the way we teach. It's the way of teaching and should be the way we teach. It's not numeric. So if you give a grade or mark, it's not formative assessment. It's always done during the learning. A summative assessment is done after the learning. Formative assessment concentrates on the learning processes. It doesn't concentrate on the outcome of the learning that much. And it's all about interaction and really closely connected to pedagogy, as you will see that formative assessment methods are kind of really close to normal working methods. But the concept of formative assessment, it refers to guiding and modifying those learning processes with the help of assessment information we get from various sources. And the one important way to do it in formative assessment is used OAD, which basically means the way you teach. You observe actively, you ask good questions, and you discuss a lot with the students. So let's take a look of the methods of formative assessment. So there are some basic methods that we use on a daily basis. Self-assessment is really closely connected to formative assessment, really important part of it, and so are the assessment discussions. So assessment discussions are really not formal discussions. They are just informal discussions between the teacher and the student, and between the students. So everyday interaction between the students and between teacher and students. So there are, of course, many ways to use these methods, and there are kind of methods within these methods, I could say, but I will give you some more specific examples. So these methods I'm going to show you, you can use them also in remote learning. So at the beginning of the lesson, maybe you could try something like yes and no chart. So this is an exercise of formative assessment method, which is really easy to use also in remote learning settings. So you first introduce the topic or content area, and then you ask students to list what they understand on the left side and what they don't understand on the right side. You can do it with the paper or shared file, for example. Then you discuss with the students what they understand and not. So this can be done in smaller groups or then with the entire group, depending on what kind of online platform you use. So then the information which you get from here is that you can use it to modify your teaching, and it is about teaching already, but also you make the students to self-reflect on what they have learned. So then maybe in the middle of the lesson or learning period, you could use do's and don'ts. So this is also really fast and easy method to use. So student lists 3 do's and 3 don'ts when using or applying or relating to the content. For example, if they are solving equations in mathematics, I will give you an example. Let's put it a little bit bigger now. So here in this picture, the teacher is using do's and don'ts. She asks students to list 3 things that they should do when solving fractions. And then she asks them to list 3 things that they should not do when solving fractions. And again, she's steering the learning process, getting the valuable information, how the group is doing and how the individual students are doing. And again, there are a lot of discussion, and also students can teach each other. Okay, and then at the end of the lesson, you could do, for example, minute papers. So minute papers is that you can select maybe 1 or 2 of these, like main point, most surprising concepts, questions that were not answered, and so on. And then you ask students to write their answers down. And again, you share and discuss what you found. It's really easy and fast method to use. And also you can use it in remote learning through discussion in online meetings, or then you can add this assignment, for example, to their portfolio work or whatever assignment you give them. So there are dozens of great formative assessment methods that we can use, and we just must choose the ones that suit for remote learning. But it's really important that we use these methods in an organized way. Like I said, formative assessment is a way of teaching. It's not a separate part of pedagogy. So you don't use these methods randomly. So I will quickly show you 4 phases of formative assessment that you can use as a pedagogical frame, so to speak, when planning and implementing formative assessment in both in classroom environment and in remote learning. So I don't have time now to go through these in detail, but I will do it in Thursday's workshop. But what you can pick up from this picture is that there is a pedagogical frame and order how you use formative assessment. So you start by recognizing the gap, which means what the students know now and what's their objective to be able to do. Then you advance the learning in certain way, use certain kind of formative assessment methods and working methods. You give them feedback and feed forward in a certain way also. And then you activate the students. So this is the pedagogical frame that you use when planning and implementing formative assessment. So it's really not random. So as you can see, they are really close to normal working methods. But what then makes the difference? I will show you here. So formative assessment methods, they are working methods, but they are kind of a working methods that include self-reflection, self-assessment, a lot of interaction, and they try to reveal the students' learning needs. They are activating the students, student-oriented, including collaboration, cooperation, also include question and questioning, meaning making, and they are used in steering the learning process. And both the student and the teacher are using the formative assessment. And also what's the big difference is that they are purposely and repeatedly used to embrace these features, embrace these qualities. But you could basically take your own working method and make it a formative assessment method by using these features, adding these features in your working methods. Okay, formative assessment, I want to show you briefly that it also connects to India's newest national education policy. So let's make this a little bigger. So these slides are picked from a summary. Transforming the culture of assessment, self-assessment, peer assessment, they are going to play a big role in the future. So formative assessment methods and formative assessment, they naturally already include these. Also, this is interesting, continuous tracking of learning outcomes and assessment to focus on core concept. So it can be, of course, done through summative testing, but summative testing can only measure a certain kind of learning outcomes, like cognitive ones. And in remote settings, summative testing is quite difficult to organize. But by adding formative assessment, we and the students can track the learning processes and steer them accordingly and acquire the kind of the assessment data that also support us in summative assessment. Okay, and in this next slide, these all 3 competency-based education and integration of subjects and no silos among the subject, they are all connected to the idea of integration of the studies. And that will move us towards building transversal competencies and multidisciplinary learning and learning modules. And of course, it requires us teachers to find new ways of teaching, like phenomenon-based learning, problem-based learning, project learning, so on. And assessing and evaluating those integrated modules and integrated learning is not really that easy. So we need new ways of assessing. And in my opinion, we can do it by combining the formative and summative assessment. And Sambo actually will talk about the phenomenon-based learning that is tightly connected to this integration of the studies right after me. Okay, the third slide is really interesting also, moving away from rote learning. So if we use a lot of tests and especially standardized tests, we tend to choose lecturing as a teaching method. And that emphasizes this rote learning. But the students are learning for the tests and not for life, in my opinion. So if we want to emphasize learning for understanding, formative assessment, I think, is a great way to do this. Because by using it, we naturally start using more versatile working methods. And also, when we concentrate on the learning process, we make learning more meaningful for them. So I think how we assess and evaluate is actually a huge part of how we teach. Okay, to sum it up a little bit is that, like I said, both the student and the teachers are using formative assessment. So if you think about the student, with formative assessment, if done correctly, it helps them to see where they are now on their learning process, where they need to go, and how do they get there. And at the same time, the teachers get the information how to modify teaching, how to differentiate. Is there any need for special instruction, and is there a need for reteaching? So it makes the learning processes easier to follow, to steer, and support. So, and this goes both for classroom use and also in remote learning. So, in my opinion, it means better teaching and better learning. Okay, let's get back to those challenges which we had in the beginning. So I think when we use in the right way, the formative assessment can help in many of the challenges we face in remote learning. So I marked the ones with bold font here that I think it has an impact. So more information, more assessment information, and we know where the students are on their learning process, we can support them better. Our quality of instruction is increasing because we can focus better on what's meaningful. We can better follow the learning processes. Also, by using formative assessment methods that suit for remote learning, we are actually automatically using more versatile working methods while we do it. So because formative assessment methods, they include a lot of cooperative and collaborative working methods. And you may be wondering that, can I do it online? Well, you can do it online if you just choose the right kind of the methods. And when we are using more versatile working methods, I think it's have an impact on the motivation, which can be a problem in remote learning. And when using cooperative and collaborative methods, I think the sense of isolation can be affected, I think, in a positive way, maybe ease up it a little bit. So, but how it connects to assessment and evaluation? Well, formative assessment gives us a really great deal of data, assessment data, that we can use also in evaluation process. So with that data, we can actually modify also the evaluation process in a way that our evaluation becomes more efficient. So nothing is perfect, of course, I know, but I think mastering this art of formative assessment and with the right kind of e-learning tools like ThingLink, for example, a formative assessment can help a lot, I think. But in Thursday's workshop, we're going to take a closer look on this topic with more examples and in more detail. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Henry, that was education gold. I think every teacher going through any kind of teacher training to start their careers could benefit from your presentation, and people who maybe are just looking to refresh with everything that's going on would benefit. It's just fantastic. And we've got over 550 people watching, and these are some of the comments that we've seen. People are just so appreciative of the techniques that you've been sharing. So really want to encourage everyone to keep leaving those comments, because it's really valuable for us to hear them. One comment I was going to pick up, but it was around having large classes. A few people have mentioned that, and that saying that it's quite a big challenge when you've got over 40 in the class. And a couple of people have just said, you know, have you got any tips about managing assessment in a large class where it's 40 plus children?
Yeah, that is a challenge. Definitely, that is a challenge. But I think the only solution, the access to formative assessment in those cases, is to select right kind of working methods and formative assessment methods, the ones that you can do in groups. So collaborative and cooperative assessment methods, which you can then kind of get the data from the group, and also I would add in self-assessment and self-reflections, because it is as equally it's important the students know how they learn and what they are learning as for the teacher.
That's just such a great sentence to end. I really liked the points on your slide, which were about people understanding what they're learning, where are they in their learning, and kind of thinking about the future. And those are kind of headings for an e-portfolio or a learner journey, when you can build in those kinds of assessments and examples. So much people will have taken away from your presentation, and I'm just delighted that you're staying on at the end for the leadership panel. And please do go in the chat and answer. Lots of love for you there and lots of questions. So Henry, a big thank you from all of us on the team for your fantastic presentation. And I'm delighted next to introduce Sampo. So Sampo is going to join us now. Hello, Sampo, how are you?
I'm really good. I came to the office to give this presentation, and actually there's some drilling going upstairs, so hopefully they'll be very short and will not distract us that much. So sorry for the background information, but I'll try to speak up and let not that disturb us too much.
Oh, we're just delighted you can be here. And is it true that didn't you used to live in Delhi? So you have a connection there with all the educators in India?
Well, this is a great honor and pleasure. So namaste to all of you, and thank you, Mahattva and ThingLink, for letting me be part of this great happening. And during the years 82 and 87, I was a student in Delhi. So wow. I have a big heart, but part of my heart always is in India. So warm greetings to all of you.
Fantastic. So are you going to share your screen with us?
Sorry?
Are you going to share your screen with us?
Yes. So I'll start.
Okay, I'll just share, move your screen in, and then I'll take myself out, and I'll pop back in when it's time to bring things to a close. Fantastic. There we go. Thanks, Sampo. Over to you.
Thank you. So thank you, Louise, and thank you, Henry, for the previous presentations. Interesting and wonderful things to learn, and looking very much forward to giving my presentation about phenomenon learning in the remote context. So my name is Sampo. I work as a lecturer for the University of Eastern Finland, and I'm also a project manager for the teacher training schools of Finland. So that's my background. A bit over 20 years of teaching and teacher training. And I've been involved in many developments of teacher or educational technology. So it's great to be here. What Henry mentioned in the end were quite nice from my point of view. So from facts to learn skills, of course, the assessment is a crucial part of that. And in Finland, we have had some national core curriculum changes, as you are having now in India. And some of these changes have been quite vast and interesting. And I'll explain a little bit about them. So phenomenon-based learning, what we are having, these are from the primary school. So we have this in 7 big deals. So in the first one, it's to do with relationships and interdependencies of the phenomena to be studied. So it's not just transferring information, but combining information, making them whole, producing meaningful entities. So that's like the goals for the cognitive skills. It's to combine different fields of knowledge, produce experiences, be cooperative, work together. So a communal building of knowledge is also one of the basic backbones of what is when we think about phenomenal-based learning. Another one is multidisciplinary studies, that we must combine these subjects with the help of different phenomena and get like a bigger picture of the things that we are facing in the world of today, and of course the skills needed in the future. So the real world issues are the ones that we should be also teaching in the schools. So these 3 chapters were from the National Core Curriculum for Basic Education. We have these transversal competencies where the main aim is in the development as a human being and as a citizen. We have 7 of these, and they are to do with different knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, and wills. A year ago, the high school curriculum was also renewed, and they have 6. So these are something that we must teach the children, as well as, of course, the subject-based content. So it doesn't mean that we do not have subjects in the Finnish schools. We still have subjects, but also in addition to the subjects, we have these broader things that we are studying. And today I'll show some examples, and hopefully you'll understand the basic idea of what we have. The question why should we study in a new way, study new things, and so on? Of course, the skills that we need in the future, it's not an easy question to answer, but if we rely on the experts, the 6 C's of education for student and society well-being are listed from Michael Fullan's chart here. And these are things that we need to be aware of when we as teachers work with the children, whether it be in contact or in remote. So these are things that we need to make possible. These are things that we should set our aims for. Another framework is from the World Economic Forum, which emphasizes the similar skills. And thinking of Louise's examples, experiences in learning, how do we get engaged, the children engaged in learning? If we think about the last example Louise showed with the teacher and all the visual things and putting herself, so immersive kind of learning is something that we all want to experience when we are learners. And in a remote setting, it's not that easy, but it is possible because there is so many great technologies available. ThingLink, of course, being one of them. So creative thinking is something that we should all set as one great goal. Sir Ken Robinson just passed away a couple of months ago, but he had great ideas for us teachers, and of course his legacy is strong. And one thing he always emphasizes is the creative activity and the possibility for creative thinking, that it's a right that everyone has to have, whether it be a 5-year-old in a Western country or somewhere, let's say in Delhi, in Sundarnagar, where I used to live. The challenge of creative thinking is sometimes interesting results from a NASA study that 5-year-olds are better at it than us. So this is something that we should maybe make better. So phenomenon-based learning, it's a pedagogical approach to learning, not a strict structure. We need to have instruction. We need to have integrative instruction. So many things that we have to take into consideration. Many subjects are involved in the learning process. The students always should be active. What is the role of the student? What are the things they do? How much do they do individually? How much do they work in groups? What are the possibilities for communication now in this remote learning? What technologies do we use? And so on. So the aims are for transversal competencies. And as I mentioned, it's not replacing the subject content, but it's enriching it. I'll just show a couple of examples. The first one is with the 5th graders, to do with ancient history. So this is in a setting where the children were at school. So if I'm able to taste ancient history, if I'm able to relive it, if I'm able to experience it with the use of technology, combine arts, crafts, sports, of course, the contents of history, using technology, working together, working individually, maybe using VR technology to experience the life that they had at the times. So these are things that we can make the learning much more effective, and you'll see some children experiencing VR experience from Roman times. So it's really something that sticks with them. So the project with these kids ended up in making like a theme day for the whole of the school. So we had many weeks of ancient history combined with most of the subjects into that, and then we organized an ancient history day for the rest of the school. So it had arts, it had music, it had crafts. We had many things integrated into that. So it's to do with the immersiveness, it's to do with experiences, it's to do with multidisciplinary studies, and so on. This example is done in a remote learning setting with a class, and it is to do with enhancing the skill of reading. So this has like a kind of a gaming setting to it. So we have a game board, and then we worked in groups, and the groups added content to our common like play or this picture you see in front of you. So we did this collaboratively using the classroom space of ThingLink, and so you're able to experience and do things together, even in a remote setting. And of course, you have great possibilities for international cooperation also with the help of technology. Moving forward, problem and phenomenon-based learning, there are many benefits. Of course, there are also challenges. These are some, the benefits for in-depth learning, activating students, and so on. It is a new way it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of teamwork. This is something you should not maybe do by yourself, so do this with the help of colleagues and so on. How to design an effective and engaging learning process. So there are many different models. Henka showed us some models, Henry showed us some models of assessment. So luckily there are many different paths you can choose, but these are like some of the main things. And of course, you have to be aware of the path that you're taking your learners on. So this is just an idea. This is in Finnish, sadly, so it's to do with healthy lifestyle. But this is, for example, the backbone of a climate change phenomenon study I could have. So this has 6 parts, and in Thursday's workshop we can look closer into these. But when we think of the learning process, we have to think of the things that the activities that the children face within these. So we need to discuss things to consider. One is especially the time. How much time does it take for things to get done? Are they the personal needs of the technology in use, the equipment, and so on, especially now with the remote setting that we are working in. There's so many things you can use in technology: discussions, groups, shared documents, and so on. You saw the immersive reader turn Finnish into Hindi, so that's nice. And to finish my presentation, so the things from the National Education Policy, sorry for the drilling in the background, many are the same highlighted things that Henry thought of in his previous presentation. So the competencies, so it's not just facts, it's not that kind of thing. So the competency-based education, the goal we're looking for is the 21st century skills, the reduction in curriculum, the addition in multidisciplinary and also integrative instruction. And lastly, the promotion of peer tutoring, how we can get the knowledge of the learners we have to be involved in the whole process. So with these words, I'll finish my presentation. I know our timetable is quite short. Hopefully, look forward to continuing the discussions later on.
Oh, thank you so much. There's some fantastic comments coming through the YouTube chat. Great presentation on phenomena-based learning. I just loved hearing some of the different ways in which you can use those methodologies in any context, couldn't you? It just opens up a whole world of possibilities, and looking at everything from health and well-being, science, numeracy, literacy, and you're doing that within one context. And I guess it ties in really beautifully with universal design of learning as well, because you're providing so many different options for your learners. So we are short of time, but I just couldn't go without saying a huge thank you for your presentation. And if you could jump in the chat, people would love to hear from you as well, I think, which would be great. So I am going to now bring everybody back in. I'm just going to remove that comment, which I can't see where it's gone now. Let's have a look. Lots of love coming through from me. So I'm just going to bring Henry back onto the screen, and it is my great pleasure to bring in Dipti Soni and also Usha Pratanya. Welcome everybody, and thank you for being part of our panel, because there's just been so many comments and questions coming through the YouTube chat, and I'm sure you've been following it along with everybody. But it would just be wonderful if we could summarize some of those questions. But before I do, I would love to introduce you more formally. Deepti, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone as the CEO of Contextual Mahattattva?
Yeah, before I give my own introduction, Luis, I want to thank Henry and Sampo for the lovely presentation. I think both of them were phenomenal. So thank you so much for that. And also, I would like to add that you can see the strength of teachers which are available today for the webinar, and the enthusiasm, the questions which are coming in. So now the power of the Indian education community. And we are so happy to get great experts from Finland and England for them. And it's a great pleasure to host you, Luis. Me, of course, I'm Deepti Sahani. I'm the CEO and founder of a transformational company called Mahattattva, and we work in the K-12 space. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepti. And also Usha is joining us on the leadership panel. Usha Patania, is a huge warm welcome to you as well. And you are actually the Director of Academics.
Hello, namaskar to everybody. Yes, I'm Usha Patania and Director of Academics Mahattattva. So today has been a great day and a great day of learning. So thank you all of you, and let's move on with our next program.
Okay, so we have some questions, and these are to the whole panel, but I'm going to ask them of one person just for their initial thoughts. So Henry, you've just had so many people coming back on the chat following your presentation, but just one kind of quick answers really, because I know we're short of time. In your opinion, what are the best strategies for assessment in remote learning?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Of course, I would use formative assessment methods to acquire information and steer my student and modify my teaching and also help my students in that way, because that information can be used later on in summative testing and summative assessment too. But what comes to summative assessment, I think we have to, because it's really common, and I think we have to find new ways how to test, because there are no ways to guarantee that the students don't cheat in test, for example, and they are remotely, they are quite difficult to organize. So I think we should only test what we teach, and we should test more understanding, so how the students understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate what they have learned. So not only what they remember. So moving away from the rote learning, I think, is really important also in summative assessment, which is also in national education policy. So we do need to modify our testing, I think, a bit.
Fantastic. Thanks, Henry. Deepti, how do you keep your students engaged in remote learning? Because it's hard to sometimes make sure that young people get up, get dressed, and actually want to go to school when they're learning at home. So what's your top tips for keeping your students engaged?
Thanks for the question, Luis. I think this is something that, the schools in India are facing now. The bling is over. The flashy tools are something which are a day of the past now. 6 months of using technology, and the children now want more. So I think when you look at the entire phenomena of keeping them engaged, I think when you have certain platforms and tools that you are using in the classroom, the children should be proficient in that. So if you see the major disruption takes place when the children don't know what to do. Yeah. So I think that's the first one. When you need to engage them, let them know what the expectations of the lesson are. And I really believe that if you design the learning outcomes along with them, it just makes them stakeholders of the entire teaching learning process. So keeping them engaged, giving them agency, so invoking the student agency in the classroom, making sure that the learning is student-led and student-driven. Those are a few things which can actually make a difference in the classroom. I also believe that if you create a learning community, the children come closer and they have a social connect with each other, apart from the cognitive thing that they're thinking about in the classroom. That also weighs a lot in getting them together to collaborate and to create learning together. I personally feel that you will need to communicate with them in multiple sort of tools, using multiple tools, because the formats that the children use in today's world, I mean, the teacher is something who is lagging behind, and the children are, oh, miss, can you not use that? So I think we should let them have the lead on it, and also look at children assessing themselves. So one of the schools that we are working here, Silverline Prestige School in Ghaziabad, they have gone phenomenal with the the student-led conferences, children talking about their own experiences on online teaching and learning. So it's been a real good experience. And for a country like India, I feel access. So each child should have access. I mean, talking about engagement is just another story for people who do not have a gadget in their hand or the connectivity. Thank you so much.
That's a really good answer. Would anybody like to come in and add anything onto that? I know that there's one more question, which is for Usha, which kind of follows on from that beautifully, which is how do you structure a school day for remote learning? So that's part of keeping students engaged, isn't it?
Okay, so I would say that the COVID-19 pandemic has just got an abrupt shift from in-person to remote learning. And this is something hardly the educationists and the families had ever fathomed or anticipated. And most of our schools, they weren't prepared to roll out a virtual learning plan or easily provide technology access to all the students. And even our teachers, I would say, were not trained to alter the way they had delivered instructions completely. More so, the students weren't equipped to learn remotely. And I must not miss the parents. They have hard pressed to add the role of pseudo educators to their responsibilities. But I would suggest that, you asked me for the structure, what a day should look like in an online school. So we've been working with schools and we've given them a daily schedule. And for students as young as kindergartners, we have given about 2 hours. But there's minimum screen time there. It has various slots for independent reading time. There are short breaks. There is some structured activity. There is a circle time. And in the evening, we have made a plan for some co-scholastic activities. So there's a little timetable from 5 to 6. So what we have to build in ideally is flexibility so that the children have an element of choice. That's very important to keep in mind. And for the elder children, I would say that we should have some short brain breaks with them, which would be some kind of physical activity, some creative pursuits, or some kind of fun brain teasers. This would make their learning exercises very, very interesting. So like Deepti said, in India, we have our challenges. We have our connectivity issues. In rural areas, we are managing with difficulty. But I must tell you, they are going the extra mile. The WhatsApp messages by the teachers or the recorded, things are being floated in the schools, and that's how they're learning. So in the end, I would say it is difficult to be optimistic through all this uncertainty, but we as educators, we as families have to model a very calm and a stable environment where our children can take their right course. So let us be positive and all will be okay. Thank you.
Oh, that was just such a fantastic answer. And I think what you highlighted there was the importance of progression as well, because while this might be a new concept for some students, if we're preparing them earlier on in their education for independent learning skills, these skills will then become so useful later on at times like this. But actually, we're now just going to build that in as part of our learning experiences from the early years. So thank you, Usha. I have one last question. We are running out of time, but I do feel that this is too important to cut short. So I really would like to ask this question to Sampo. How important do you think it is to link the real world learning to immersive experiences in remote learning?
Well, I'd say that as in the opinions we heard before, that the engagement, the possibility of ownership in one's learning, if it's to do with who you are and the life you live, of course it's a really different situation. The motivation towards learning is much better, and when you have the possibility for, let's say, as Usha mentioned, the elements of change, or as Deepti mentioned, the ownership of learning, and you have a possibility to choose how you study, what are the outcomes you bring. Of course, they add to how Henry's presentation showed the lack of motivation, maybe. So when you have a say in things, you get more involved and the quality gets much better. So hopefully we'll be able, in this beautiful cooperation, of course, learn from India, but also maybe something from Finland. So that's something we look forward to. And let us be positive. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's positivity shining through this webinar. So it's only my last few words. I know that we're just going to round up now. I'm going to bring Alexi back on, but I can't thank you all enough for your valuable contributions to this webinar. I've learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else has learned a lot. So a huge thank you. And I'm sure this won't be the last webinar that we're going to be doing together. I can see great things ahead. So I'm going to say goodbye now, but I'm just going to bring Alexi back on, and I'm going to share my screen, but I will just make sure that we're going to round off now. So thank you very, very much to Usha, to Henry, and to Deepti, and to Sampo. And Alexi, welcome back in. So we're just going to kind of round up now, aren't we? And just sort of tell people a little bit about a great opportunity which is coming, which is where you can join our ThingLink educator communities. Alexi, I don't know if you want to add anything on about this.
No, but I think our teacher community is the best way to share and get the inspiration from other teachers. So join our Facebook group and follow us on Twitter to know about these kind of events in the future.
Thank you. And we have an exclusive opportunity for you. So we have got 15 places left at our workshop, and we would like to open these up to people for selection so that you could be in with a chance of being selected to attend this fantastic webinar that's going to be on Thursday. So what we'll do is we'll put the link into the chat, and all you need to do is simply complete the form. But we want you, it's not as easy as that. We want you to share the URL, the link of a ThingLink that you've created, and you can show that how that's engaging your learners in digital learning and teaching. So we'll put that into the chat. But it's really just to round up now and say a huge thank you from me to everyone that's joined us. There's over 550 people that have watched this over the last hour. We are running a little bit over time, but this was just too valuable to miss. So over to Alexi for the last words.
Thank you, Louise. And thanks, Henry and Sampo, for the great presentations. And thanks, Mahattattva, for inviting all the great teachers to join us here on the webinar and sharing your expertise during the panel. And Louise, could you put Deepti here with us? So
yes, sure.
Still here.
Yeah.
Yes. I just wanted to quickly share about our partnership with Mahattattva, because together we want to offer new options in India for teacher training and curriculum development. And what we are right now doing, we are creating engaging contextual teacher training programs with our Finnish teacher trainers like Henry and Sampo, and they are working very closely with teacher trainers from India, from Mahattattva. And like you saw in the presentations, we are linking all the content to the new national education policy. And we think that there are limitless possibilities to transform on-site and online learning when we are working together. And hopefully you contact us, and we love to work with you in the future. And Deb, do you have any final words?
No, so just that, I kept talking to my friends about this phenomena-based learning in Finland, which is so fantastic, and the team in ThingLink, which is like superb. So today I had a showcase. So well done, all of you. So thank you so much for the brilliant session that you held for all of us. And we are very excited at Mahattattva to be working on teacher professional development and curriculum with you. And we will make sure that all these enthusiastic teachers and schools in India get an experience to meet you personally through workshops and through ThingLink.
That's wonderful. And I'll just formally bring this to a close and say again, thank you to everyone that's joined us today, wherever you are in the world. And we can't wait to see what happens next. And thank you to everyone that's been on our panel. So take care, keep safe wherever you are. And we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.